Welcome to The Randy Report. I'm Randy Slavacek, your host. I'm also the writer and editor of therandyreport.com, where you can find me every single day on the internet following the daily news cycle in terms of politics, pop culture, and entertainment news of interest to the LGBTQ community. In this week's headlines, lawmakers in Egypt have drafted legislation to criminalize homosexuality, making being gay punishable with prison time. The Trump administration now wants to argue against LGBTQ protections at the U.S. Supreme Court. Ryan Murphy's new series, Pose, has cast a record number of transgender actors. And I include my suggestions for some Halloween movies with a queer slant. All that and more on this episode of The Randy Report. In response to the raising of a rainbow flag at a rock concert last month, lawmakers in Egypt have drafted new legislation that would make being gay a crime punishable with prison time. On September 22nd in Cairo, at a concert performed by Lebanese rock band Mashru Leila, the rainbow flag was raised. Nearly 70 people were arrested and more than 20 have been sentenced to time in prison ranging from 6 months to 6 years. The new legislation would make homosexual behavior punishable by a prison sentence of 1 to 3 years. A repeat offense could mean an additional 5 years in prison. Also, anyone identified as an LGBT ally or supporter could be imprisoned for 1 to 3 years. Media coverage of events like LGBT Pride, as well as the organizers of those events, could also suffer prison time. And anyone who displays a, quote, symbol of homosexuality would be risking 1 to 3 years in prison as well. This is dangerous stuff, folks. I just had friends visiting Egypt on a vacation. I can definitely tell you where you won't be finding me anytime soon. I'm hoping the United Nations steps in to say something about this terrible legislation. A small business in Phoenix, Arizona, which designs and prints wedding invitations, has lost in their attempt to override the city's ordinance that protects LGBTs from discrimination. I want to start this story by noting that no gay couple has asked the company, Brush and Nib Studio, for any wedding services, nor has anyone filed a complaint against the artist in question with the city. This week, Judge Karen Mullins rejected arguments that the ordinance interferes with free speech or free exercise of religion laws. According to the Arizona Republic, Joanna Duca and Brianna Koski, owners of Brush and Nib Studio and self-described evangelical Christians, who create invitations and other handmade artwork for weddings and events, filed the lawsuit in Phoenix in May of 2016. They challenged part of the city's non-discrimination ordinance that prohibits discrimination based on sexual orientation. Their lawsuit alleges that the city's ordinance would compel them to create invitations or artwork for same-sex couples which would conflict with their religious belief that marriage is between one man and one woman and violate their freedoms of speech and religion. In 2013, the Phoenix City Council added sexual orientation and gender identity to an already existing non-discrimination ordinance, making it illegal to discriminate in the areas of housing, employment, and public accommodations. Back in May of 2016, blogger Joe Jervis of Joe My God noted that when the lawsuit was filed, the company didn't appear to have a physical address. And the artist's social media accounts were only months old, making it credible that the company might have been created just to file the lawsuit. Interestingly, a video titled "Getting to Know the Artist of Brush and Nib" was uploaded to YouTube just days before the lawsuit was filed, and the comments section is closed. And the video is listed as unlisted. In the video, the two artists make a point to say their teaming up was a God thing, and that beautiful things just come from God, and how special they view their work on wedding invitations. Now, why would you have a getting to know the artist video be unlisted on YouTube. Things that make you go, This next story comes from the Donald Not So Better for the Gays Trump file. I previously reported that Trump's Justice Department filed a friend of the court brief in support of anti-LGBT Colorado baker Jack Phillips, whose case, Masterpiece Cake Shop v. Colorado Civil Rights Commission, will be heard by the U.S. Supreme Court on December 5th. Now, the Trump administration wants time to speak at the religious freedom case. The case concerns Phillips and his refusal to bake a cake for a gay couple's wedding, Kel Surprise. According to the motion filed, the United States should have room to participate, it argues, because of its unique perspective on the application of the First Amendment. According to the Department of Justice, under the leadership of anti-gay U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, as a general matter, the United States has a substantial interest in the preservation of federal constitutional rights of free expression. The friend of the court brief defends Phillips by saying, in part, a custom wedding cake is a form of expression. It is an artistic creation that is both subjectively intended and objectively perceived as a celebratory symbol of a marriage, and as such, the baker has a free speech right under the First Amendment to refuse to express his support for same-sex marriage. Lower courts have previously found that Masterpiece Cake Shop violated Colorado's non-discrimination law when it refused service to David Mullins and Charlie Craig. In July 2012, Mullins and Craig went to the Masterpiece Cake Shop, which was owned by Phillips, looking for a cake to celebrate their upcoming nuptials. Phillips denied the couple's request and later admitted he had turned away other same-sex couples as a matter of policy. In 2013, a judge ruled against Phillips. The Colorado Civil Rights Division's decision noted evidence in the record that Phillips had expressed willingness to take a cake order for the marriage of 2 dogs, but not for the commitment ceremony of 2 women, and that he would not make a cake for a same-sex couple's wedding celebration, quote, just as he would not be willing to make a pedophile cake, end quote. Phillips and his lawyers, the virulently anti-gay legal group Alliance Defending Freedom, have been appealing the ruling ever since, losing every single time in court, which is how the case now has arrived at the U.S. Supreme Court. We'll see how things go on December 5th. Thanks for nothing, Donald Trump. In entertainment news, Out TV producer Ryan Murphy's upcoming series, Pose, is going to make TV history for assembling the largest cast of transgender actors in a scripted series. 5 transgender actors were cast as regulars after a 6-month nationwide search. They are MJ Rodriguez, India Moore, Dominique Jackson, Hallie Sahar, and Angelica Ross. All will be playing transgender characters. Also cast in the series are Tony Award winner Billy Porter, Ryan Jamal Swain, and Dylan Burnside. Set in the 1980s, Pose looks at the juxtaposition of several segments of social culture in New York City: the rise of the luxury Trump-era universe, the downtown social and literary scene, and the ball culture world, an LGBTQ subculture rooted in the 1980s nightclubs. In addition, Janet Mock, well-known trans advocate, will serve as a consultant. And trans activist director Silas Howard will serve as a co-executive producer on the show, which will work to bring in transgender directors for mentorship opportunities. Serious thanks to Murphy and company for bringing these stories that center on the very undertold stories of transgender women and gay people of color. The pilot for Pose will begin production in New York City in November. Wedding bells rang for Teen Wolf, Arrow, and American Horror Story star Colton Haynes as he married Jeff Leatham, the artistic director of the Four Seasons Hotels, this week in Palm Springs. People reports the wedding was officiated by Kris Jenner of Keeping Up with the Kardashians fame. Leatham apparently planned much of the wedding, describing the design as, if you can imagine Cher meets a Guns N' Roses video, that's the theme of the wedding. Wedding guests included Cheyenne Jackson, Sofia Vergara, Chelsea Clinton, Melanie Griffith, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, and Teen Wolf co-star Dylan O'Brien. Attendees were told to follow a black and white dress code for the ceremony and reception, because you've got to make sure the photos match, don't you know? Congratulations to the happy couple. And with Halloween this week, I thought I'd suggest some movies with a queer angle to entertain between trick-or-treaters. Here's just a few. Number 1, Interview with a Vampire with Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, and Antonio Banderas. Hello, can you say eye candy? Number 2, The Haunting, starring Claire Bloom and Julie Harris, the Robert Wise-directed film which features one of the earliest and respectful depictions of a lesbian relationship while fighting evil ghosts. Number 3, Totally Homoerotic The Lost Boys, directed by Joel Schumacher with Kiefer Sutherland and Jason Patric. And my fourth choice, 1983's The Hunger, starring Susan Sarandon and Catherine Deneuve as lesbian vampire lovers. Be sure to check out one of those for your Halloween evening entertainment. And by the way, what kind of a cocktail do you drink on Halloween? Well, of course, a Bloody Mary. And that brings me to the end of this episode of The Randy Report. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you click the subscribe button on my page on iTunes, and then every time I upload a new episode, it'll be sent straight to you automatically. Also, if you enjoy the podcast, do me a favor and leave a review on iTunes. Apparently, that helps move us up the ladder in terms of ranking, and that way makes it easier for other people to find The Randy Report. And remember, you can find me every single day on the internet at therandyreport.com, where I report on the daily news cycle regarding politics, pop culture, and entertainment news of interest to the LGBTQ community. Thanks for listening, folks. See you next time.